Hey, what's up, bro? Hey there, everybody. This is iTears with Little Mortal Podcast here, featuring Jordanis TTV. He'll be assisting
Hello.
in the podcast today. Hey, Jordan, hear you loud and clear. Thanks for joining
Hello.
today.
Awesome.
Hey,
Thank you
so
for having me.
hey, no, thank you. So obviously the patch just dropped recently here on the 13th of March. We're releasing a brand new dungeon and a bunch of various new content. I thought it would just be awesome, just kind of talk about that, discuss kind of our experiences and how we've interacted with the patch, and our just on general thoughts on how everything's looking thus far. So one thing that obviously brings up is the new light armor. I actually thought this to be really cool. It actually is linked with the new dungeon. I'm not too sure if you were aware. So, from my understanding, the new dungeon drops decorations which can be used thus to turn in for this new armor book, which you actually
I didn't
learn.
know that. That's interesting, really.
Yeah. No, it's huge, and I think it's really cool that they dropped this into the game because I think that there's been a need for a new armor set for a while now. And that
Yeah,
being
I agree.
said,
As a footy main, as an Augmere footy main lane, mages do need more armor, more protection, magic protection, just in general. Like even in my skirmish fights that I have with some of my guild mates and some of my teammates, and some of my friends, you can tell that even like a one-handed axe or even a two-handed axe Ogmere, if you get two to three swings off on that guy, he's going down. Like even especially if you got trinkets, he's going down. You know.
right, right, right.
I do like the way it looks. I see a lot of the memes about people talking about how it's more feminine and it appeals to more feminine characters and stuff. Aside from that, that's all I really know about the new armor. I don't know like its specific stat ratios or anything like that. I used to be an armor crafter. I'm not anymore. I do weapon crafting now, so I'm not sure exactly what is now considered best in slot for mages and light armor users, but it looks interesting. It looks cool. I didn't know that it so how does it drop? Does it drop like off of the boss or does it drop off of you trading in like the decorations to get the item? Does that make
So,
sense? Because I don't know anything about the dungeon vault. I've
right.
spoiled myself, like spoil free.
No, definitely, and I believe the information is going to be very fairly difficult to obtain at the moment, considering guilds and the coalition are currently controlling that dungeon. But I did get a peep of Baridos' stream recently, and he did get a little peek at one of the Kodo houses, and it seems like they have all these new decorations in game. So, from my understanding, it's kind of exactly what you just mentioned that you actually trade in the decorations for the book. That's my current understanding of how the mechanic is working for that. Like I said, though, I think it's pretty awesome that they're bringing in some new armor, kind of switching it up a bit, giving more variety to the light armor users of the game. And then, of
As
course,
someone who plays a lot of games like I started like I played a lot of Fallout 76 when it launched in beta and alpha and going into the game like late game up until where like there was a lot of questionable activity with the player base with duping, which I will personally account that I took part of duping and giving away items to players for free and stuff. But in that game, but I was explicitly boycotting ZeniMax when I did that. Um, in terms of this game, I'll be honest. I'll be honest, ITers. This game, Mortal, is probably one of the best games I've ever played, like hands down. And there's a lot of elements of it that are unique and take unique ideas from original RPG elements. Which actually, this afternoon, before I got into the Zoom call with you, I was watching a documentary on the history of RPGs and where RPGs actually come from. So I think that they've added the fact that they've added more furnishing and housing decorations is really big. I think that's like adding more flavor and uniqueness to the universe, and you being able to say, hey, like I know Henrik in his last stream, which I watched, he was talking about eventually creating different housing types for houses. So like a Sardukan type style house, as opposed to a Tindremic style house, which what we all currently have in the game, including strongholds and houses, is all Tindremic style. So I would like to see more expansions of that, and the fact that I can trade in, uh, like a deed drop or like a decoration drop, or I guess the way I like to emphasize it or phrase it is recipe from the old Fallout 76 days, where like you can trade recipes for other things, etc., other decorations for other things, etc., etc. So I like that. Um, I did hear that the dungeon has 2 exits and entrances, so that's good. Need more of that. Um, but I didn't mean to segue out, but I just wanted to add that the fact that they've added more furnishing stuff is really big for Mortal. Like, for me to be able to go into my house and just like make like a fully decked out type of style, like I want to go for a certain style of a certain house. I mean, I don't know if you've ever played other MMOs of that genre, but of the at least in terms of like the furnishing, housing aspect, there's a lot of variety when it comes to like Elder Scrolls, and there's a lot of variety when it comes to like Star Wars Galaxies. Because I played Star Wars Galaxies, I understand like, and a lot of what MO2 and MO1 comes from is from Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxies. So I think it's a good step in the right direction what they've done so far.
Okay, so you think it's a really good addition to the quality of life?
100%, 100%.
No, I can
Like
definitely see that.
like the fact that there's a different type of look of a certain like cosmetic item, like that's huge. Like, because I've playing a lot of Fallout and playing a lot of Skyrim and a lot of those types of RPGs, um, like being able to create my own setup and like have it be like unique and different, or even with like mods,
Hmm.
you know, like if you played Skyrim with mods, you'd be familiar with that, and it's just very interesting that there's so many different styles of things that you could do that are lore friendly and things that are not lore friendly, and I think that Mortal taking the approach of adding more lore-friendly decorations, themes, cosmetics is the way to go. Like, to distinguish itself from something else is definitely the right way to go.
No, I appreciate that outlook. And so you would definitely say you're a huge supporter of Mortal Online too.
100%. Like
Awesome.
I played MO2 since January of last year, 2023, and I probably put like 2,500 hours in, and I'm just now starting to feel some of the burnout, and I don't know if that's like the I guess the PvP elements of it that I'm getting burnt out on, or if it's necessarily just like I've been literally playing this game for almost 3,000 hours, and I'm starting to come to a point where one character build, I'm like at a wall, where the only thing I can really improve on is like different weapon style usage choices, or combat style choices, or doing things differently in that combat role. But if I were to go like full-fledged mage, which I've put 2 to 3,000 hours in Immortal, I have not done mage at all in that entire time. I haven't touched mage. I know a lot about it. I haven't touched it because I wanted to like, you know, not burn myself out as fast. So like I don't know, like when the Diva system comes out, I'm definitely gonna be making a mage. Like that's already set in stone.
No, 100%. I think that's going to be huge for the game, just Diva system alone. I think people have
Yeah.
been anticipating a second character slot for some time. Um, I think that's something that Starvault's been definitely lacking on the ability to make multiple characters, forcing players to unfortunately have a second whole different account on Steam. I think that's going to help bring more quality of life to the game by bringing on the Diva system. But until then, of course, I know we have a ways to go to that. But of course, I don't want to stray too much off topic. So, have you been to the new dungeon yet?
No, I haven't been to it. I haven't spoiled anything for myself. I have no idea what this place looks like. Like I guarantee you, the only thing that I've noticed was that the style of the Hendrick's stream that he posted was very Tindremic style. I think I want to go Tindremic style look, which is good. You know, need more of that, more of the main capital city look, style, feels of like the lore and the world building and et cetera, et cetera. As much as I like the POIs they've added to the game recently, which thank you so much for adding more POIs to this game because it makes it way more enjoyable to walk around and find something new. Like adding a little bit more of the flavor of like this is this type of style POI in this type of area, that would add so much more immersion and world building to that take of um I guess you get what I'm saying, right? Like imagine going to a POI and it's like a MK themed POI.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, I totally agree. I think immersing the players in that specific, I guess you want to say, culture of race or nation. So in this scenario, obviously Tindremic being the kind of flow that the new dungeon is going towards. Um, I think that it definitely lets the players in the game embrace that more immersion side of things. By the way, I hate to tell you, but I'm going to spoil some of that dungeon for you.
Please tell me what it looks like.
Well, I won't show you. I definitely don't want to show you. I'm definitely going to discuss it though. So beyond that, I know that there's, of course, the decorations. That's a huge thing inside the dungeon. If you actually travel within the dungeon while you're in there with your group or solo, whatnot, there's actually paintings that are on the walls of all sorts of different sorts. Very well detailed, actually. Very cool, very immersive. There's all
Before
sorts.
you go deep,
Yes, you're very quiet.
can I jump through the painting?
No, you can't jump through the painting. It's unfortunately inaccurate, but there are books and scrolls that show lore of the new dungeon, which I thought was really cool that they went through the time to do that, along with detailing some new decorations.
With Necro Dungeon too. I don't know if you were around when Necro Dungeon had came out, but I had come around the game when just after Necro Dungeon had came out, and I remember there was a lot of like lore heavy books and scrolls that you and I was taking screenshots of that stuff and I was like, I'm gonna save this for later, I'm gonna look at this later. And I did at one point, I don't remember a lot of what happened, but it's cool that they add that dungeon that attribute to the lore and the fantasy of Mortal Online that make it unique and different. I think that if they had more of that around the world that's like accessible, I think you and I had this conversation board that people can fill out or the devs can fill out to kind of give information about what's happening in that area, kind of like a, I don't know, like a community like blog system, right? So like you come to like, let's say like like Fab, and then there's like a bulletin board, and then at the bulletin board there's like things that are in game, and then there's things that are made by players. So like let's say there's a guild recruitment, let's say there's like you know, instead of guild recruitment, let's say it's guild versus guild, or let's say it's we're recruiting a mercenary guild for this, or I'm looking
Right.
version would really help the game have more of a sense of community and friendly player interaction, especially, you know, coming from like a PvP player. Like of course, like I've been on both sides of the spectrum of PvP, the good and the bad. So like I know like where this can go, like in terms of like where you would go with that. Like you could theoretically make a fake post about luring someone in to bait them, right? But that's part of the game too. Like this is a persistent open world PvP game, and it is, you know, it is challenging. There are a lot of challenges. I still don't even understand, and I don't know if it's like the you get where I'm going with this, right? Like it's a lot. It's a lot to take in for a game like this, and it's unique. That's what I'm getting at. Like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of this game is uniqueness and it's different. It's niche. Clearly, this caters to a specific market of people that clearly no idea what it is. And even when it comes to the game, like, what do you do? And I'm like, you do what you want. And they're like, what do you mean? Do I do what I want? I'm like, you got to kind of figure it out for yourself. And they're like, well, how do I do that? And then that's where you start to attribute the player versus player elements to the game.
Yeah,
I
no,
think there needs to
100%.
be versus player interaction to Mortal Online too. I think there needs to be more encouragement for it. Like the group bounty hunter system was a step in the right direction. If they could do something like that with like the task system, where like a group of people can get tasks together, that would be great. You know?
Yeah, and I
Just
mean, I would love to get deeper in on that. Obviously, we're going to definitely have to dive deeper into that at some point on a different podcast. But we definitely should review the patch notes. And I would love to
yeah, I'm
just,
gonna pull 'em up right now too.
yeah, no, it's because especially the what's next on here is pretty huge. Oh, and before I jump into that, because you threw me off there, Jordan. Shame on you.
I know
The
I've been drinking a
boss.
little bit tonight.
The boss, it actually, the mechanics are actually quite unique compared to a lot of the other bosses. So, like Ultimechia drops the lava upon striking, this boss generates smaller lava pools throughout the arena. So it's very similar arena to that of the Undercroft boss. So you go in, the doors lock, boss spawns in the middle, fight begins. The boss fires nothing but fireballs at you at a very high rate of speed. And I'm saying very high rate of speed. And they do, when I saw the damage tick, it was 56 damage on hit.
Was
Just from
that
a
to a
fireball.
full footy, or was that to like a
That was on a full
main?
footy. That was on a
That was
footy.
on a full footy. Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm not, the psych should be high on that character. So I'm not too sure. Maybe their build wasn't built for psych. Who knows? But I think that was quite unique. They have the heavy hitting boss who's spawning lava pools throughout the area. But these are small lava pools. I'm talking about the size of a character standing in a certain area. If you move to the left, you're out of the pool, basically. But yeah, I'm not going to like too much more about that, but I think that is pretty huge. Just keep healers on the outside of the arena. Let your footies just go in and just go ham. It's more of just a turn and burn, it seems like, on the new boss. But beyond that, yeah, it's a great build. Unfortunately, when they dropped that patch, there was obviously some spawning issues, which hopefully they've got around to fixing. I did actually get some information, which I will pull up right now. I thought that was quite hilarious. So right now, I don't know if you can see this. I got this photo from Suck Them, a player in Mortal Online. Currently, the trolls are showing up as blueberries, and when you kill them, all their loot is stolen.
That's interesting.
Yep, so obviously you can see here that he went crim by picking up loot. Yeah, that's something that they definitely need to look at fixing. That's just one great example. Another thing here I thought was kind of interesting. You could slightly hard to see this one. This is a Descensus Dweller from Necro Dungeon, shown on the southeast part of Moki. Also brought to me by the same person who provided the last photo. So this somehow there's either a leashing problem or a spawning issue.
It looks like a spawn issue.
Yeah, it's.
I don't. I played a year of MO2. Like I've seen instances of being able to pull ads and mobs out of like certain areas,
Mhm.
but to go from that distance is like that doesn't seem plausible at all. Like that doesn't even make sense unless if like the spawn was genuinely fucked. And I did try playing the game the moment the patch dropped and 12 hours after, and some of the spawns were not working correctly.
Mhm.
However, the one spawns that were working correctly were the cursed curite undead that spawn from the pools of green on the ground
Correct.
when you
Correct.
walk into the room. Those are the only things that technically still worked as
Correct.
of last night when I played. And that other than that, I remember walking all around the dungeon and I couldn't find anything other than those NPCs. So this is new to even to me. This does seem to be some type of node spawn issue, and it might even be worldwide, and it could even span as far as the animals and the aggressive NPCs.
Nope, I totally agree. Rob Mo actually made a comment that there was a coding issue, and I'm assuming with the network system, because they did actually a network patch. I don't know if you knew about that. I'm not too sure if that's actually listed here in the patch notes, but we'll dive into that if it is. Rob Mo did actually mention it was a coding issue, so I'm assuming with the network update that they did provide, it unfortunately probably broke some of the spawns. But like I said, I think they fixed it at this point in time. But I know since the patch dropped, there were the persistent spawns, as we mentioned, were not being as persistent as they should be. Um,
So to add what you just said,
mhm.
they did say there were some server networking issues. The two things to note: optimize server code for auto stacking items when you pick up a new item, which I also made comments about that when they
Mhm.
added that feature to the game, and also fixed issues that would create small spikes of delay in certain parts of the server. Those are the only two server and network notes of this patch, other than the other known issues, which were some parts of the landscape might turn invisible, but they are still there. We are waiting for 5.4 of Unreal Engine, which we all know, and you and I both experienced that in game. We are aware of the login issue where some people are experiencing and are focusing on getting it fixed. So like obviously like people not being able to log in several times, like they log in and it doesn't log in, they log out, doesn't log in, cancel the game, reload the game, doesn't log in, just perpetual loading. That's been an issue. I experienced that while playing on my GeForce account. Third person player gore is currently not showing as intended, meaning you will not see limbs fall from another player unless you killed them. However, works for AI. I don't think I've experienced this, but I other than it's more of a quality of life thing for them, like me being able to see someone's limb cut off from their perspective is kind of like, like mid, like I don't really necessarily need to see that as long as there's like a physical like if I could see that the person's limbs cut off, fine, but I don't need to see it like cut off flying on the ground. You know what I mean? I think that's what they're referring to, but those are the only known server networking issues they have listed on this patch, and it's at the very, very bottom if anyone wants to go look.
No, definitely, definitely, that's huge. But yeah, enough on that. How do you feel with the combat system polish they did?
It's a
I
lot
know
better.
you did that. I know you did that. I switched back to Legacy. I couldn't do it. I didn't like it personally. I'm sure that there's been a lot of good feedback on that, though, from my understanding. What do you think makes it great compared to Legacy?
It's more fluid, more dynamic.
Could you
You have
elaborate?
more it's not technical, so it's a little weird. So like I guess my impression of this new patch is it's not necessarily as technical as it was before. Like back then, I had to really focus and prioritize when I was doing my hits, when I was distancing my hits, blocking, parrying, etc., etc. In this patch, even the one before that, where they added the feint function to overhead,
Mm-hmm.
or the feint function to add more damage attack, that was huge. Because finally, where people get some attack
Right.
without having to be more technical. If
Okay. No, no, no. I get it. So basically, you're saying that you're giving yourself more of an edge with this new system. That
it's almost like,
it's more advantageous.
yeah, like, or even like some would even call it a handicap.
Okay.
It might, some people might even consider this some sort of a handicap because you're giving yourself the ability to go through with the next ability before the first one happens. Like when I go to make the swing, I hold my swing until I let go at the angle I left my swing. Whereas before, I would have to block feint and then reinitiate my attack, or immediately go for the offensive and get that parry hit off before the timer goes off. If
Right,
that makes
right,
sense.
right. No, I get that. I think that is a true point there. I think the coolest thing for me personally, just a quality of life thing, was the quick swap. I think
Oh
that,
my god, it's so nice.
yeah, that's crazy. Honestly, just
So
the
nice.
speed of the change alone was pretty insane.
I
I think
will say the only argument I have to that is that the quick swap is faster than anyway if you were to swap back to that secondary weapon. So the fact that you just increased the time for a quick swap function, it doesn't make sense if you're gonna make the speed faster if you're not gonna make the sheath speed also as fast.
right. No, one
You
hundred
know,
percent.
it's like kind of redundant, and it is actually, it does break away from the immersion. I will say that 100% breaks away from the immersion. Like the fact that I can quick swap to a bow and it's not like
So are you saying basically that you think that they should at least maybe decrease the speed of the swap?
the same exact speed as sheathing.
So okay, so you're saying that they should revert the speeds and then so keep the same system but just make it, yeah, reduce speeds essentially you're saying. So you're not getting such a big
Yeah,
overall advantage in the PvP environment. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, 100%.
Okay, fair
Because
enough.
that is definitely, it breaks away from the immersion.
No,
It
no.
just 100% breaks away from it. Like, for the fact that someone can sheath and put their shield away as fast as they can pull out a bow and shoot it, faster than they can just normally sheath and pull the weapon and shield away, that's, that kind of like, it's like, come on. Like, I get it. Like, I get what you're trying to do here. I approve of the quick swapping function as a keybind.
Right.
I also think you have multiple keybinds for the same swap
Hmm.
instead of just one button. Because that was the first thing that I noticed with the quick swap that I immediately disliked. The fact that it was just one button and it wasn't uh, a physical hotkey item
Gotcha.
like you have like the cooking or skinning or resting icon.
No, no, I agree. Obviously, there probably needs to be a nerf on that. We can probably agree. Um,
Yeah.
I do find it that it definitely makes the overall change to the combat has definitely made it more user friendly in the point of you're new coming to the game. I think you're going to understand the combat system. It's easier to learn. It's easier to maintain. I think that overall it's a good thing. I myself, I am a creature of habit. I switched right back to Legacy. I just didn't. I personally didn't like it.
Listen, I like Legacy. I actually, when I was taking a break from Mortal before the patch, I got Mordhau and Kingdom Come Deliverance, and then I think between those two games, I put like 30 or 40 hours. So it was most of my game time of normally if I was playing Mortal instead. And I kept finding myself doing the Legacy thing, where I'm like going to like go to block to change my feint
Mm-hmm.
and like change my attack pattern, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm stuck in this animation now, like, and I'm like vulnerable for this whole animation time, which is probably like a third of a second or like a half of a second or something, but it's noticeable. Like the amount of gameplay I put into Mortal and
Mm-hmm.
the legacy feeling still is embedded in me outside of Mortal. Like I still have that impulse response.
No, of course, and I think that this game definitely brings out a sweatier version of that. I don't know if that's the way to say it. I feel
100%.
like it's definitely a better trainer for a melee fighting game. in comparison to a game like Mordhau and Kingdom Come. By the way, Kingdom Come and Mordhau definitely do have very good combat systems, but I feel like this game specifically definitely brings it out of you to be sweatier and just
Oh,
overall,
100%.
yeah, just overall
Way more
better.
technical and mortal. You can
Yeah,
be a
yeah,
lot more technical.
no,
And even like in Mordhau, you when you go to block and you go to block at a certain direction, it blocks no matter what direction they hit you at.
hmm
Whereas Mortal, if you 83 damage, it's gonna be someone with a two-handed axe hitting you for max with trinkets, and you're gonna be like, oh, there goes.
I just gotta say it, Jordan, real quick, because I'm sure your mic goes in and out really badly. Yeah, it's really bad. But hey, it's okay. It's okay. We're managing. We're getting through it. Um, I just wanted to give you a heads up. That's why I keep smiling sometimes when you're talking. One thing I did want to ask about, though, I thought was really interesting, and I think it might be kind of broken, is the being able to charge an attack from the blocking state.
Yeah, that's big.
I think that's a little bit broken. I don't know. I feel like you're basically could just stay in a block state with a fully charged attack and then just quick release on somebody. I think that's really broken. Um,
Yeah, if you've ever seen me do some of my skirmishes with some of the guys, you'll see that where like you'll have either a shield out or you'll be preparing your swing with the feint full attack parry, and you create this like distance of kill pressure, and you see it a lot, and especially veteran mortal players, like they know the distance between like the safe distance to attack, I
mhm.
guess. And with this change, it's think about it, right? Imagine going into combat, doing your full swing attack, right? Let's say you had a two-handed axe. You go into a full swing, and then you just like swap keys to like a tower shield with a one-hander, instant swap, and then all of a sudden you get this equipment hit from the other guy doing his reaction, and I don't know. Again, this goes back to like the timing of the swaps rather,
Right.
and then I always did. I always had my feint on my left thumb and my block on my right trigger, and the ability to be able to do this in one function. I don't think it necessarily matters too heavily, especially if you're already familiar with having to stop your attack via blocking or feinting. If
Right.
you like, this is more of like a legacy thing than
Right.
it is a new thing. um I can tell you from legacy play that it didn't necessarily matter that I would have to block or feint to change my attack.
hmm
But now that you add it to one button, it does make it a little bit more dynamic. Like you get more of a there's more play.
Right. Well, then, I mean, okay, so this is probably a question that I think is worth talking about, though. Do you think that mages should have got something? Do you think spellcasters should have got something? Do you think they were just being left out on purpose? Do you think they're overpowered? Do you think they need, what are your thoughts?
To be able to cast and move at the same time. And if they're going to do it, it needs to be at a hindrance to the amount of time being cast semantically and via component. Now we're getting really technical with my brain when it comes to this idea. So like when you think D&D, when you're in the middle of doing an action, you can queue your action, but you're like reserving the time to do the action. So like let's say it's your turn and my turn, and you decide, you know what, Jordan, I'm gonna withhold my turn. I would have done on my turn, casting or doing something, so that way when it comes to your turn, and it triggers, I get to trigger my ability. So when I played mage, at least a little bit of mage on the in Haven, I
Right.
didn't like the fact that I couldn't move and cast because of footy. Bow, move S key backwards and jump and shoot an arrow at me to change the sway animation.
Mm-hmm.
And then they could also like there's so many factors that influence a footy's ability to have the advantage than a mage.
Okay. So you think that we definitely need the overall? We need something for the mages. They're being left out.
Mages are totally being left out. As a footy, as a footy main, mages are being left out.
Okay. No, I like that. That's definitely something I wanted to hear someone else's perspective on. I appreciate that. And then real quick, I know it's not really a big deal, but ranged combat. We got 50 arrows in the quiver instead of 25. I think that's great for your mounted archers. But then again, you could just attach it to your hotbar and then re-equip the new stack of arrows. So I don't personally see it as a huge issue there.
Honestly, I think it's your because I'm a footy MA hybrid, so when you have to micromanage your inventory, there's so many aspects you have to think about. So like, all right, so you've got your armor, you've got your primary weapon slot. Great. Okay, so what's your PvP weapon slot? What's your backup PvE weapon slot if you're going to go PvE hunting? How many stacks of arrows are you going to have? Do you have horse food? Excuse me. Do you have horse armor? Do you have extra gold? Do you have like an extra bow? Do you have a footy bow? Do you have an asim bow? Do you have a crepite? Do you have a dense crepite? You know, and when you think about it, like when I was talking to some of the guys and I would show them my inventory, they're like, dude, your inventory is like half full on your footy. I'm like, yeah, but I'm prepared for literally everything to happen at any time. And they're like, why would you go through all this crap? And I'm like, I always have a minimum of 200 to 300 arrows in my inventory, minimum.
Right.
It doesn't matter what bow I'm using. It's always 200 to 300.
So you think that is just better for like inventory space?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Like it being able to just have more.
Right.
I can save more inventory space,
Oh, yeah.
especially if that person is also an arcane archer. It's even more complicated, and God bless those guys because they literally have to micromanage mage and MA at the same time.
Right.
And there's a lot that goes into that.
Okay, so fair. So you're talking about 4 stacks of arrows instead of 8 stacks, basically, for 200. Okay, no, that's dope. I can see that. I personally didn't see it that way, so I appreciate that. That's actually that graced me with a lot of perspective right there. No, I appreciate that.
Of course.
So, I mean, we kind of talked about mages got left out. You know, quality of life changes thus far. Combat system changes. Overall, I think the community is really liking it, except for me. So, fuck the rest of y'all. And I was kidding. One thing that I thought was a huge quality of life change, though, that I did want to point out there was the durability on weapons. I thought that was absolutely insane.
That's the biggest change. That's a big writing change. Like that's way fucking big, and the fact that they just like if people don't play this game, you don't understand. Like understand that I always have to go anytime I have to go out with 2 or 3 weapons. This allows me to do it in 1 or 2. I can do it in 1 to 2 weapons, easy, and it's. I think it has a lot to do with that, like inventory management. I think they're just trying to make it easier for people to like, because don't get me wrong, like I've always gone into situations with a PvP weapon But more so recently, I've noticed a lot of people going in with PvP weapons that go into like below half Dura, and I'm like, why would you? I get why you would use it. Or like I see people swinging on PvP, and it still is technically viable up until like the 20% range anyway. So the fact that they're just making it like a hard 20% is just like, oof. Like as a footy, that was the first thing I noticed in this patch. When the patch came out at 4 in the morning in Eastern Standard, my time, that was the first thing I noticed. That was like, this is game changing. Like this is completely game changing.
Oh yeah, I mean you're using PvP weapons now for majority of your, going to Undercroft or whatnot. You're using PvP weapons for a majority of it. I think that's absolutely huge. I mean, there's not much more necessity to be driving around with PvE weapons. I mean, you're being able to be more maximize damage output with PvP weapons, anyways. And so this is basically granting that opportunity. Granted, though, at 20%, it does specifically say that there's going to be huge noticeable changes on the damage threshold when it's passed at that 20%. That's definitely going to be, I think, yes, we can completely agree that's a game changer. I think that's huge.
100%.
Obviously, some of these are kind of just quality of life things. Updated the animations and visual effects for blocks and parries. I personally haven't really noticed it too much, but maybe that's just because, I've just been kind of trying to figure out this patch as much as I can for this conversation that we're having here today. This, I think I did notice this one, which is parry effects should no longer end up outside the screen for larger weapons. I definitely saw that as a huge one. Huge.
Yeah.
Big yeah, no, and then of course you have your shields. You're getting your stamina back during combat.
Also really big. That's
Yep.
that's.
Oh yeah, big time sleeper thing.
They nerfed shields, and now they're like trying to rebalance shields. Is what it's happening in this patch. And after doing just a couple of skirmishes with this patch in the last day and a half or 2 days or however long it's been, this is noticeable, 100% noticeable. Like it's way better. Like before, I didn't bring a shield because there was no point unless if I was going to be in a big PvP situation. Now, I'm always 1VX.
Right, no, for sure. I think the Augmers are definitely getting a huge buff there. I think this is huge for shield users. And of course, we're going kind of back actually here. I don't know why these patch notes were made this way, but the time a swing is released and now used to define if a hit should get a parry attack bonus damage. I think that's pretty interesting. I think that the attack bonus, I don't know if it should be a thing. I don't know if it should be removed completely, just because that's kind of like a luck factor in my personal opinion. It's not so much of a skill factor.
Yeah.
And then right here it also states this should fix the issue of heavier and slower weapons not dealing full damage after a parry. Okay, so granted, this is being defined as attack bonus damage for all weapons. This is not specifically for heavier and slower weapons. It's just a fix that helps assist with those heavier and slower weapons. So I personally don't see. I don't know why they can't just make it so it's individualized for those heavier, slower weapons. I don't know why it has to be broadened across other weapons. I mean, that's just my personal outlook on this specific. What are your thoughts on that?
So, the time a swing is released is now used to define if a hit should get a parry attack bonus damage. This should fix the issue of heavier and slower weapons not dealing full damage. So I know what they're talking about here. It's in regards to, again, the heavier and slower weapons. Not necessarily... It's the rebound of doing a parry attack is what they're referring to, I think. It's like... There have been instances in my gameplay where you'll go to do like a full parry swing that should do a full execute, and it does like a quarter execute or like a third when it should have done a full.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the timing of the swing was was the same. I don't know. It just I think they just tried to fix the desync issue people were having when they were doing attacks and swings.
No, for sure. But I think that would just be simply combated with just better network code. I mean, I uh,
Um,
I've done Unity coding. I know, unfortunately, that that is the fix. A animation in game giving, you know, better bonus damage. I don't know how you want to go about that, but I don't think that's really the true fix. Hopefully, that's something that Star Vault notices in time. Is they just need to be better network code. But unfortunately, I don't think the tech is fully there anyway to fully support that, as well as Henrik's vision of the game. I don't think can be fully supported with the tech at where it's at as well. But then he's also working with a small team of developers, which unfortunately is going to, push back on these updates and, not give, the best of quality as it could be. But that's because they want to get content out to its player base as soon as possible, which I believe they are doing a pretty decent rate at, which I think the trend so far was 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So I think
yeah,
that's pretty good compared to a lot of other games.
100%.
Yeah.
And the fact that Henrik talks to people on stream and communicates with his gaming community is really big.
Oh yeah,
Um,
you don't
do
see
that.
that. You don't see that with other games. No, I completely agree. There's obviously things I critique, but I mean, overall, I think he's doing a good job. I think a lot of the
100%.
player base needs to realize that it is not easy to make an MMORPG. I attempted at making an MMORPG, and it is hard. I had 20 people under me, and it was difficult. It's not for the faint of hearted, and it's definitely a risky game genre to jump into. So besides, on that note, props to Henrik for that. And then going through the criticism he receives, kudos. But yeah, sorry we went off topic a little bit there. Let's keep going. I know we got a bit more to go through here, but amount of combat. This was actually huge. This
100%.
mount and dismount while in combat mode. That is huge. That the amount of time it takes to unsheath and then resheath your weapon was annoying as hell, especially during combat moments. I think this is a huge, huge, huge change to our combat. And then the regeneration. Yeah, oh my god. Don't even get me going on with that. I could talk about that for a while, but
I could too. No. Now all regenerate stamina at the same rate. No.
yeah, so I mean, you basically there's no point but to not 3-speed everywhere you go, and then 4-speed. The spur on is crazy now. So I know that's obviously it is talked about in here. I think it's okay. That's cool. So one thing that it kind of is broken though, if you have full beast mastery, you are getting focus points back up like a motherfucker. Spur on is going to be crazy broken when it comes to people with beast mastery fully maxed out. But
People will start putting points into Beast Mastery as like a dump skill just to be able to have that ability, and you only need 1 point of Beast Mastery to have Spur on.
yeah,
You only
exactly.
need 1 point.
Exactly. You just need to read the book. You don't even need to actually have any points. You just use your,
Yeah.
whatever intel you do have. So I think that's a good quality of life. Is it broken? It is. It's a little broken. I think that especially with the second line when it says it regenerates all stamina at the same rate, I don't think that should be the way it is because doesn't give you. I think because before let's backtrack a little bit. So before the patch, you used to stop and go into 2-speed just to start regenning when you're at low stam on 3-speed, right? Or you'd 1-speed or completely stop. Now there's not really any point. I've been riding back and forth across the map with the way that the current stamina system is created, and it's absolutely broken in my opinion. But hey, I'm there at my other location, my destination, much faster. So for traveling purposes, I think it's great.
I think for traveling purposes, this is great. This breaks the conflict issue that a lot of people talked about with fast travel and getting around the map and stuff. And we did talk about this yesterday. I know some people said for one person to get from MK to Tindrum on a bear on bear, not a horse, on a bear. It took them about 25 minutes, I think, to half an hour,
Right.
which was still about the same amount of time it would take you to get there on a horse, give or take. Depending on if you were riding with armor or not, like on the horse specifically.
Hmm.
Um, but the fact that mounts don't lose stamina at third speed that's kind of big for
Hmm.
travel purposes. But now the mounted game changes. The
Yep.
mounted game's completely changed now. So I saw that some of the numbers for some of the creatures are a little weird. Like jungle horse and mongrel horse are exactly the same.
Right.
I don't know why. Like that's a little strange.
Hmm.
And both of those are technically overall average better than anything else you would normally take, aside from short bursts of time. But then again, like I don't know. I need to play more of the mounted horse game and really get a more feel of how this affects the game.
Right.
Because I didn't play PTR, but yeah, it's a little strange. I think the improvements are good. I think it needs a little bit of tweaking and refining over the next couple of months.
Well, hey, they got rid of the double damage with Lancers, apparently. I haven't tested it. I do want to see if somebody could test that theory. See if there's an instance where they're getting double damage while being hit by a Lance. I remember that was pretty big. Apparently that's been fixed, though. We'll see. Fingers crossed, because I do know that was a one-hit and kill for a lot of people.
Yeah, I remember. I remember in a previous PTR, someone came up and did 364 damage to my horse through a node line.
Yep.
And I loved it. I encouraged more of it. Great, bring me more of it.
Right. There you go. There you go. So next on though, these are kind of like small things. Again, we're talking about quality of life. So overall, this looks like a quality of life patch. I thought this was interesting. So the push is now a dedicated button, so this is actually kind of big if you really think about it here. So I know a lot of people, they would go for their counterattack and accidentally push instead of attack. I have seen that happen. I myself was a victim of that before I changed some keybinds. But now B is the keybind for pushing. The old input was obviously block attack. That's been removed completely, which I think that's a huge good quality of life. Looks like push actions now cost 10 damage, or not damage, oh my goodness, stamina. What is wrong with me? And then now that actually probably, I don't know if that's going to be a huge impact, using 10 stamina just to push somebody. We'll have to see how the shield users feel about it as they're pushing people with their tower shields. I thought this was kind of interesting. 10 extra kilos of carry weight for everyone, regardless of race. Yeah, that's going to be very nice for those that are farming, for example. Especially those that are new to the game, I think are going to find that as useful. They're not going to notice it, obviously, but I think that's a nice compliment. Mages? Oh yeah, for sure, because they yeah.
I think it's like 20 to 30 kg of materials depending on what kind of mage they are.
Right.
Not to mention pet food. So that's pretty big, you know. And I know most mages aren't gonna have multiple weapon slots. If anything, they're gonna have just a dagger, and then they're just gonna have just a shield and a dagger. Like that's most likely what they're gonna do for their weapon swap.
Right.
So it doesn't really change the amount of weight they would have. It just gives them more, which I think is good. But it's big change.
Oh yeah,
Big
for
change.
sure. 100%. 100%. Yeah. And then oh yeah, no longer need the holding control to eat food or drinks from the action bar. Yeah, I think that was pretty big because before you would have to literally go out your way to hold your control key, then select on your action bar. Now you just select and eat. I think that's another good quality of life. I know that a lot of people will like that one, that eat blood kua and so on. Yeah, I like that personally. I think that's a big one. Unarmed combat now plays a swing sound, so I don't really understand why they did that, but quality of life, here we go again. If you like it, you like it.
I do like it because I was making an unarmed combat build before they started messing with and teasing fist weapons,
Right.
and there was no sound animation for swinging. Really, I think it was just you just literally just watch yourself swing. So this is a nice immersive change,
Right.
quality of life stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at this one right here. Hold R to suicide, and it's gonna now flash repeatedly, letting you know that's what you're doing while you're in Mercy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I've accidentally committed suicide. I think once when I didn't really want to commit suicide when I was in Mercy. Yeah, I know that's happened to me before, and I think it was just because, I screwed up. But whatever, it's a skill issue. Obviously, okay, we're talking about TC. I know we have a lot to talk about on TC, but we're not going to do that today. We're not going to talk
about TC today.
No, we're not talking about TC today. But keep owners now get 80% up from 50% of the keeps from houses in their area added to the treasury every time the house pays upkeep. That is crazy. So let's do an example of Odinseed, who's got the biggest circle on the map right now, right? Just imagine right now how big of an impact that has on their treasury. That is huge. I'm sure they are looking very pretty right now with that one. I'm not too sure about the second one. Cannot enter the supply towers anymore. I thought that was kind of odd.
About that.
Yeah.
Is that because people were complaining that people were hiding in the towers when they were beating them up? Because if that's the case, then get bent, in my opinion.
Right.
Just get bent.
Right, and then it's easy to mage bang those things. To be honest with you, you just hit the.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like all you have to do is run in there and just go punch the guy or beat him out. Like.
Yeah, and mage.
I
yeah.
don't think it's really that big of a deal.
Yeah, you just hit a bunch of lightning on it, and they're dead. 3 lightnings and they're dead. Yeah, you can clear out the supply tower so easily. I don't agree with this one.
You're using the terrain to your advantage. Like that's natural. Now that maybe they removed it because people were dying because they were going to the very top of it when they were beating it up and they were instant dying.
Skill issue.
That happening. Again.
Yep.
Again, yes, it's a skill issue.
Yep. Exactly.
I don't know. I don't like that change. I think that should have stayed the way it was.
Yep. And then
I do think they needed to fix the collision though with the towers when they would explode. But that would be the only thing I would have changed.
How so?
Like, you remember when you would it'll like completely change wherever your position was. It'll physically push you. Like, you will be physically pushed out of whatever you were doing.
Oh, yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
By collision, like that's the one thing that should have been changed.
Right, no, for sure. And then I'm not too sure, like...
Fixed an issue that would cause a new guild leader to not be selected when the current one left or disappeared.
That just sounds like to me they just fixed some coding issues that should have been corrected a while ago. I know that was an issue that a lot of people were complaining about. They finally did it. Okay, so bravo, I guess.
An issue of allowing members of the same rank to promote and demote each other. I never had that issue.
Yeah, I never noticed that either.
I have 2 characters, and both of them are of the same rank or of different rank, and it's like I've never ever had that issue.
Oh yeah, I don't. Cool.
I can't relate.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, Bear Mounts though, that was the craziest one. So I'm sure you've already heard black bears are basically the best bear.
Hanging out in MK, everybody.
Yeah.
That's where you get the black bears.
Yeah. And then I mean they are. I think it goes Terrorbird and then Black Bear in terms of speed at the moment. And then of course, I know it's kind of off topic there, but when we go back to the horses, I know Mongrel went from being the worst to the best now.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah, so I think it's like Mongrel, Jotun, Jungle, and Desert. But Desert is actually still pretty good in terms of being able to ride at top speeds for a longer duration in 4th gear.
Okay.
So, but, I mean, their carry weight's dog shit.
I know Step Horse is like...
Yeah. Oh, Step Horse. There you go. Yeah. But, yeah. Mongrel horse, they have the carry weight, not best carry weight. The Jotun still wins there, but they have a very high stamina bar. They have a very good health pool. And they have the best. They're just best. It's crazy. I never saw that coming. I don't think anyone did. And then, of course, you got your black bear. Then I think it goes black, oh, white, or is it brown? I cannot quite remember.
But if I'm not mistaken, I heard brown bears were good overall, but in terms of speed, it was black bears. Even though it should be brown bears based on like real life like animals and stuff. And
Right,
then white bears obviously are just like more tanky.
right.
It's like just the tanky variants. I haven't heard anything about the ritual versions of them. That's gonna be the real game changer, especially if stamina changes were done to everyone. So we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah, that's crazy. I absolutely, I don't know. They changed it up. They flipped the script. It used to be a completely different meta. Now the meta's changed. So I think that's refreshing. I think that is good that the meta changes. And I think it's good that it forces players to figure that out. But unfortunately, we're kind of spilling the beans right now. I'm sure that a lot of other players out in the community have already spilt the beans to their guilds. Uh, it is what it is. But I think it's cool that things do change. I do think there's some balancing issues, but I'm sure that will be addressed in due time, as other things have in the past, though it may take a year.
Yeah. Or until breeding, because honestly, like no single like creature should have the same or identical stats of another creature. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Please make it make sense to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Please make it make sense, because it really does not make sense. Like
No.
I don't understand why jungles and mongrels are exactly the same when jungles should theoretically be better
Right.
than mongrels.
Right.
Like you know,
Well,
if we're talking survivability and
well, I mean, hey, you got to think about it this way. Jungles have better churning. Yeah, I mean, mongrels are going to still have horrible handling. Oh my god, let's not even talk about that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see trailers either. I know that was a thing that people were talking about, was getting wagons.
to pull them. That was the concept initially.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's focus on doing other things, Henrik. But anyways, let's continue down the list here. We got our gore. We kind of did drop on that a little bit. You were talking about the arms. You know, there were some things that were not fully implemented that should have been implemented. I turned it off personally. I'm all about my frames. Do you
Increase the time dead players and humanoid corpses stay on the ground. This is a quality of life thing, and anyone that has anything lower than like a 30 series graphics card that's not a 7 series or an i9 or something should keep this at the minimum setting. Like this needs to be at your minimum. Like this is gonna save so much frames. And honestly, I'd almost even consider removing the gore if you're having frame issues and stability issues when fighting. Because the moment I got into a 4v7 engagement with gore,
right?
it started to affect my game. Like I immediately had to turn the gore off.
I personally, I'm that guy who will play his game on the lowest settings to get the best frames. I think, yeah, this is just a quality of life thing. I think I did turn it on. It was really cool, but I could tell that if I was in a large fight, it's something that would definitely affect my computer's performance. So if you're someone who just wants cool visuals, keep that on. It's cool shit. But beyond that, I don't think it's worth it for the performance.
Yeah, if you got a 40 series, run that shit on high. If you don't, turn that shit down.
Hey, I got a 40 series and I'm not running that.
Dude, I gotta be honest. I gotta turn my stuff down if I want to be competitive, and it is what it is, you know?
I mean, that just goes with every
game. Has
game.
its beautiful moments. The game does have its beautiful moments where I can, like, put everything on epic, and I'm just like, oh, or cinematic, and I'm just like, oh, this looks beautiful. But then the moment I start interacting with players,
Right.
forget it. It's just not even a thing anymore.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
I do like the fact that they changed the hit effects and blood in the game, I did notice that change. Like the more damage you do to a creature, you'll see more blood and damage dealt to it. That's a really nice quality of life immersion change. Improved the effects and feedback when executing creatures. That's accurate. That was an improvement I noticed, and I do like that immersion element to it. Um, humanoids that get executed with an arrow to the head now react more violently. I haven't tested this yet, but I bet you that you can do with human, like, it's just like when you go to finish the mercy kill, it's more dramatic. It's just a little bit more dramatic, and it creates a little bit more immersion to it. Humanoids now show an increasing amount of blood on their body the lower their health is. That's exactly what I was talking
Yeah, no. I mean, it's cool.
You now get blood added to your body when you execute something or someone.
Right. Yeah.
So that's nice. I didn't like before how you would get blood added to you if you just dealt any damage or damage was dealt to you. I now like this because I don't like looking at myself and I'm just covered in blood all the time.
Right. Yeah. No. 100%. 100%.
Or they should add I don't want to add other features from other games, but like in Kingdom Come Deliverance, there's like a water trough you can go up to, like anywhere in town. You can just wash and bathe yourself in to clean yourself of all the dirt and blood. Adding that kind of quality of life change, other than me taking.
No, I got you. No, I feel it. So, I mean, yeah. The immersion, yeah. No, for sure. I think that, like I said, we've been saying all the time, this is just another quality of life thing. But I think it does have its drawbacks due to, obviously, performance. Because you have more pixels, more things your computer needs to process. So, that's just, it's a do what you want to do type situation. If that's something that you dig, do it. Just do it. We got more quality of life over here, though. It looks like we got just general Mulva animations. Increase attack distance of the Mulva to avoid it standing inside you. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
What's that mean with the Rhino and Ace Ventura? Because that's what it feels like every time I fight a Mulva.
No, I 100%. So, like, yeah, the Mulva, I mean, it's nice that you'll actually be able to hit it without hitting it with your handle hit. I think that's going to be pretty huge, the handle hit. But it also is kind of adding a attack draw distance that could potentially be maybe even exploited when attacking somebody else with your own pet. So there's that to worry about. Let's hope that's not the case. The swimming animations, feature, quality of life. Fix the issue where out of the world correction did not work for mounted players. Player would be pushed away from the mount instead of correcting the mount issue itself. Quality of life. UI bug issue when equipping armor, the unequip. Quality of life. Cool. I think the only thing that I personally would take from that would just be the Mulva distancing. I think that's probably just the best thing in this type of situation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of silly in my personal opinion. Give me your thoughts on this. Spawned illusionist copies will no longer give glory. I feel like you should get glory no matter what you kill. I know there's some mobs out there that don't give glory at all. I think they should still give you glory regardless.
Spawned illusionist copies. That means it's the mob that creates.
Right.
It's the mob that creates the duplicates, and they all attack you at once. I agree. I do not think they should give you glory because they're one-hit creatures. Yeah, it's similar to like the Risen sacrifices that you see inside of the Undercroft, where they don't...
The Savils? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they don't give anything. Yeah.
Honestly, like, I haven't fought in the Illusionist in some time, so I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure, like, that it doesn't... Like, it's like a one-hit.
I think it should be one glory. I mean, fuck it. Why not? It's just... it's something to do. I mean... It gives more incentive to kill shit if you're getting something from it, because you can't get any loot from it. I mean, what? Well, yeah, I'm just gonna focus that shit down. Like I can, I'm a goddamn noob, for example, and I'm gonna go down to the Andercroft. I'm gonna go down to the ruins entrance, going down the stairs, and I'm gonna kill the like the Risens right there, and get myself a glory piece, and just sit down there and maybe clap up some players when they're coming down the staircase. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, give some incentive. That's just my personal opinion on the situation.
Until after you completed the boss. I think that's what they're going at here with this.
No, I got you.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a... Why add... part of the boss fight? Why not just, like, have, like, an amalgamation of glory that you get at the end that is then split amongst what you killed? I don't know. Maybe that's what they were thinking when they thought of that?
Maybe. Yeah. That is possible. That's possible. But I think it's just something that we'll just have to see in due time. If that's something that's really, I don't think it's going to affect the community. I mean, it's not that big of a issue, honestly. I think everyone and their mom could do the exact same thing. So it's not a big problem. I'm just saying. I personally think you should get glory for killing shit, even if it's just one glory. So let's continue down the list here. Updated attack animations, hit times for multiple creatures. That's Go ahead.
So this right here, like, Starvault, elaborate on this, because which animations did you change on which creatures and which ones were too hard for people to read? Because I've done a lot of PvE, and it's not hard to read these creatures if you have, like, a pocket mage or something.
So I think what they're talking about is I saw some complaints in the Mortal Discord. Not the official. I'm talking, one of those off-branch Discords. I'm in all of them. The one with the green guy. That one I saw someone bitching and moaning about, I think it was the Tindremic Guardians. I personally didn't see an issue with the Tindremic Guardians at all. I thought that was really weird, personally, that someone actually made that. Because I fight those things all the time. I solo the goddamn things. I mean, it's like a better Riser. That's it. That's all it is. It's just a better Riser commander. They got a bigger health pool. That's literally all it is. I think it's just a skill issue. I'm sure that there were probably some animations that needed some fixing. And that's what they probably did. So it's just a polish. It's probably just a light polish that we can barely notice. I think that's all it was. Yeah, and only reason I'm cutting you off, Jordan, sometimes is because your mic is so quiet. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know.
What is happening? Like, I'm noticing this on my end. Like, Windows keeps changing the volume of my audio for my microphone, and it keeps, like, attenuating it. Like, I keep bringing it to, like, 50, and then it keeps bringing it back to 10. I have no idea why it's doing this. It is a software issue.
Sounds like a skill issue. Ha! Got him. All right, it's okay. Don't worry, bro. We got you. But hey, nah, it's okay, guys. I'm just teasing them. It's teasing them.
I don't understand why it keeps doing. Because I'm watching it change as I'm moving it. I'm actually watching it change as I'm touching it.
That's crazy. But hey, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. We'll get through it. Trust me. We'll get through it together. So I'm not even going to be bothering reading down this list here, because a lot of this is just really silly things, quality of life changes, things that probably people complained about and just said, hey, I want this to look better. That's all this is literally. It's just, we're looking at visual changes, improve kinetic for wobble during combat transition, improve animations, blending, swinging weapons, looking up and down, restore the login effect for other players. Remade the spawn animations for loot bags. Actually, that one I did notice. Remade the spawn animation for loot bags. It just feels like they're spawning faster. I thought that one was kind of interesting. But again, nothing big.
It wasn't that noticeable for me when I played.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Cool. I didn't even know this was a thing. Campadon statue vendor would accept other items than gold in the trade window. That is kind of interesting. Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Hey, actually, speaking about vendors, get this. As soon as the patch dropped, the decoration vendors, everything in them was free.
I heard about that.
Yeah, they removed all the decoration vendors in the whole entire map when it got reported. So whoever got in those deco vendors, they made bank. Um, and apparently they got rid of the house vendors temporarily as well. I don't know what that was all about. Maybe it was the same situation, getting deeds for free. Could you imagine?
Right.
Could you
That'd be
imagine?
wild.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out in time. If we see stronghold deeds on the market for half the price, we know what happened.
Yup.
Yep.
100%.
So I mean that's a good thing to maybe keep an eye out for, guys. If you see access chats, maybe want to look at buying those up, because that if I was that person, I'd be selling them for half the price or a couple gold less. Same goes for the stronghold and house deeds. I'm sure if that was the case for the house vendor, you're going to see those, and it's probably a good idea to get those.
Yeah.
Oh, what old? Hey, Henrik, what's up, man? I
Hey,
know.
Hendrik.
I knew I wasn't gonna say this, guys. I wasn't gonna read chat on podcast at all. I apologize, but Hendrik's in here.
Thank you. Not much. Just talking about your game.
Hey, so anyways, we got a lot more quality of life things here. We got fix issues with rotten walkers will fall limp to the ground instead of reacting to killing blow. That's just another quality of life thing here. Nav
Yeah.
mesh issue with Undercroft. Okay, this is actually probably something that is interesting. The nav mesh issue in the dungeon. So I do remember, I forgot whose stream I was watching. There were AI getting stuck under the dungeon nav mesh. So that I think is huge. I know there's still a couple places, I believe, in the dungeon that you can actually hide your character fully in. So there's something doing it with the collision on the actual dungeon walls. Somewhere on the third or fourth floor down, there's actually a collision. I don't know if that's going to get fixed or has been fixed. I have to check it out. But if this is what I think it is, then it's done. It's hopefully that's the case.
Yeah.
Death issue sound of a player would not be heard when killed in mercy mode. Quality of life, which is very good. Fixed bug with AI
Yeah, that's a better
HP.
quality of life mode, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Fixed issues with groups of AI would not fully stop when reaching a player. I think that's, I don't know. You're talking about leashing at this point. You're talking about leashing mobs. It would not fully stop when reaching a player. I kind of feel like maybe they should continue chasing the player personally, because sometimes people that leash mobs are exploiting them to mob bomb or, do certain things. But, I mean, if you're talking about, like, out in the world where you have the boars, right? Those things
Yeah.
chase you for God knows how long. I mean,
Yeah, they do.
fuck.
Yeah, some of these some of the AI respond differently, and I don't know if it's a per node thing or if it's a specific type of NPC AI that's on the node that affects its movement. There is noticeable differences in the game in terms of the leashing distance between things. I think there would to understand more of what was fixed, it would need to be probably elaborated. Other than the only thing I could think of I have to read this out loud to myself so I can understand it fully. Fixed issue with groups of AI that would not fully stop when reaching a player. That would often vibrate back and forth on the spot. That I know what they're talking about. So that's when you see NPCs get stuck and you'll see them like get stuck in an animation and they'll just like kind of go back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. Sheath and unsheath, sheath and unsheath, sheath and unsheath, sheath and
Oh, I know what
unsheath.
you're talking about. Yeah.
That's what that's talking about. So that's good. That's
Okay.
really, really, really good.
No, it's good that you caught that, because I was thinking something completely different.
Yeah, no, like I said, I had to read it out loud to myself to understand what that meant, and now that I read the second part of that sentence, that makes so much sense, and that's a good quality of life change because that is noticeable in a lot of places.
Right.
And it's not just one specific place, it's multiple places, and I don't know if it has to do with like object collision or collision with AI or specifically like you would see this in the minnow dungeon, where the minnows would go back and forth, and they would kind of get stuck in the wall, and then they're like perpetually stuck in the wall, and then they're going back from being aggressive to not aggressive, stuck in the wall.
Right.
Like that's an example. Another one, and that's specifically at the minnow dungeon entrance at the first minnow spawn, the very first one.
Okay.
The other ones that I can think of that I've ever seen, some of them were in the GK Riser dungeon. I don't know if it was like people were like trying to mob bomb and they all got stuck at a specific spot and they all kind of got stuck. But sometimes like, um, I've noticed, and this is, I don't know if this correlates or if it's related, but sometimes you'd go to an area where you'd like see, like let's say GK Riser, and you go down a couple levels of GK Riser and you get to that room when there's like three of them. Sometimes they'll be like double stacked on each other or triple stacked on each other, and then when they all move towards you, they're all stacked. Like you can't tell that there's three of them on you until all of a sudden there's three weapons swinging you at the same time. So I don't know if that is a correlated subject, but that's in the this is, if this is in vein of that, they're going in the right direction. Like this
Oh
is
yeah.
a good step in the right direction.
No, 100%. I agree with you on that one. And then actually, I got something on the next one I thought was kind of interesting. The Ether World. So I know this is kind of off topic, but I actually just got this video from someone today. This is actually something, it's completely off topic. This has nothing to do with the actual patch. So what we're actually watching here are spirit farmers. The quality is horrible, so forgive me. But these are spirit farmers that are going directly for the body of the spirits. They're not hitting the orbs. And they're not getting attacked. They're going directly for the bodies, and they're farming the spirits from just hitting the bodies. We're seeing just the bodies being attacked. They're not attacking. They're just, yeah. It's some. I don't know what is going on here, but this person that submitted the video to me told me what is going on. You got to check this out. There's some sort of exploit going on here. See, look at this. They're just hitting the body. Just hitting the core body.
And they're not being attacked by the other little spirit orbs. They're
Yep.
just full farming it without any kind of PvP, any kind of aggression towards that NPC. I know what you're. Okay, so I've, as a footy,
Mike.
very little into the spirit stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very little. And the spirit stuff, like, you would take a lot of damage from aggressing a spirit body. The fact that they don't take any damage is like massive.
Yeah.
That's really, really massive.
Yep. Yep. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if that was supposed to happen. I don't know if they did something specifically. I don't know if they're. I'm not as familiar with Spiritism personally, so I can't say like, oh, there's actually something that disables them. I don't know. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think there's a spell that disables the spirits from attacking you. I don't think there's some sort of invulnerability or invisibility to the spirits. So I'm hoping that's something that gets patched, because obviously we're going to see a lot of flux hitting the market soon, and it's just something that just got exploited essentially, if that were the case.
It is an exploit. Yeah, I don't know much about the spirit farming mage aspect of the game, but that is not how it's supposed to work. And as someone who's actually dabbled in it before they did the Ether World patch before Undercroft, like,
Right.
I actually, as a footy, could not participate in any spirit travel activity because I had such low mana, and if I was anywhere near the spirit body or did any damage to it, I would just be instant banished. It
Right.
was just immediate.
I do think this was a kind of cool thing. Like I said, I'm not really familiar with Spiritism, but the Caliban is actually pointing in the correct camera direction, unlike it was before. That's a good quality of life, I think. I think that's a pretty big thing for Spiritists, I would imagine. Spirit sounds were playing the real.
I know that function. The issue that is, like, when you would cast a spell and you would move from the cursor, it would like keep it on its initial trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
This makes it so that way it's instant. Like, it's wherever you're looking and it hits that like completion of the spell, it goes off in that direction, which is really nice. really smooth. It's
No, for sure.
more polished for the mages for sure.
Oh, here we go. Summon spirits ending up above the caster. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I'm glad they got that fixed. Could you imagine?
With someone's spirits ending up above the caster.
Could you imagine? They're just on top of you.
I would honestly cry.
Yeah,
If
that's
I did
crazy.
that every day, I would be like, no.
So it looks like we got some more magic balance. So actually, you know how we talked about earlier that they didn't do too much for mages? It does actually look like they did do quite a bit.
So what
Spell-
I'm seeing here, and when I talked to about the other mages when this
Right.
patch came out, is they changed a lot of the reagent costs for spells for elementalism,
Yep.
which were a little like I shouldn't say like it was complicated, but it was a little complicated, I guess. Like it's like there was so many things you needed.
Right.
Like Boulder removed Lone Stone powder as a reagent cost. So you've again, this is like an inventory management kind of quality of life thing for mages.
Right.
Torrent changed purify water reagent cost to be normal water. Great. Now I don't need to be using 2 different types of water to be, casting my thing or whatever, Now and then you've also got stuff like Dustburst. Random powder reagent costs from 2 to 1. Again, this is just more the way I see it, it's like inventory management, quality of life for mages.
Yeah, it's quality of life for sure. And it's definitely, yeah, you're talking about the same thing. Again, we talked about art and the extra quiver. Yeah, just better inventory management and quality of life. I think that's pretty huge for mages because I think that it's unfortunate that they have to spend more gold than footies just to be able to operate. So I think this is going to be something that people reluctantly look at.
I've always said that it would be really great if mages had something like a spell component pouch.
Right.
Where it was like the equivalent of like a capacious bag, or it was the equivalent of a backpack, but you can only put magic reagents in it. And anytime you died, you would just drop whatever magic reagents you had inside the bag, but you still got to keep the bag.
Oh yeah, so you're talking about like a soul-bound, reagent bag is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it should be achieved through either a boss completion, an achievement of some kind. I almost feel like in a game like Mortal, it needs to be like a quest-driven thing, where like you need to go around the map and go to different POIs and like learn the map.
Right.
And understand where to get certain resources for mages. Like, take people to where you can get Cowmine nodes. Take people to where you can get sulfur nodes. Take people to where you can get, like a mage quest line. So that way at the end of the mage quest line, they get this spell component pouch. That's just a huge improvement, quality of life to the game. Because otherwise, people are just buying bags. And they just buy bags every time they die and reset, which I understand because I also use bags as a MA.
I love it.
When I
kill them.
When I micromanage stuff, like I always have an extra bag on me. But yeah, like that'd be a nice little flavor, quality of life touch.
Nah. I personally like it. I mean, I think it'd be a great quality of life for the mages, but I personally love killing them and taking their shit. And I love
100%. You still get their shit, 100%, but you just don't get the bag. Like they get to keep their bag.
The bag's the money. The bag's the money, though.
I don't know. It's kind of in the magic reagents, but anyway, it's
Nah.
free to disagree.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All Surge no longer hits anything if you cast it on yourself. That's a huge change.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That fixes a lot of the problems people were facing with Necros and anything to do with All Surge. Like, the range you would get on being able to cast it on yourself was so long. You can just cast through a building,
right?
Even if it was a keep.
Well, that's what people were doing.
Just cast through it, and there's nothing you can do to prevent that. Even if I had, magic resistance, I can't even put up a secondary wall to prevent them from hitting me. You know what I mean? They're just gonna go through it. And that's at ranges of like several meters. Like we're talking a big distance.
No.
Items and trinkets.
Yeah, I wasn't really too sure on this one. So new players no longer start with a default map since you no longer need an item to see the map. I wasn't too sure. I never knew that was a thing, personally.
New players no longer start with default map.
Yeah.
You didn't know about that? So that was pre-TC. You actually needed the map in your inventory in order to look at the map, period, at any time. If you didn't have a map in your inventory, you could never look at the map.
Oh.
And the map was not descriptive back before TC. When TC came out, they changed the map to make it more geographical, which is like one of the best maps I've seen in a game to date, because most, like, I love typographical maps. Like, I love the way maps look, and the fact that it looks the way it does now is awesome. But back then, it didn't look like that. It was like you had to assume where you were in that area. Like, you just had to assume. Like, you don't, like, it wasn't descriptive. It was like an old school type of map where it was like Map Quest before it was Map Quest, you know?
Right,
Like,
right. Kind of
no
like DayZ,
description of
right?
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like that.
Okay, no, that's cool. I didn't know that. See, it's good.
Fixed-
It's good to have you on here.
issue. Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of this game. You know, I played a little too much Mortal, I will admit, but I love Mortal.
No, that's
Fixed
good.
an issue where the Ogmir pipe can be used while eating. This is good because this was an exploitable thing that Ogmirs used to do all the time. As an Ogmir, I used to do this. I used to pipe and eat food at the same time, and it would not affect like my health regen. But now it does.
You
which is good.
dirty exploiter. Wow.
Of
No.
course. I'm just kidding. No. But like, yeah, like that's obviously like something that needed to be fixed for a long time, and it's good that it's fixed and rectified. I like that change.
No, I like that. No, I
Fixed
think
an issue where drinking potions, you taps to consume 1 unit didn't count for the first 2 seconds if you were in combat mode.
Were you
This
aware
I
of
know
that?
what you're talking about.
You were aware of
Yes.
that? I would
Yeah,
just
so
drink
if
my
you-
pots.
So if you go to drink your pot, it would take a couple of ticks. It wouldn't be instant. It wouldn't be like I'm going to do my drink. It would be game has to register it, then it does it. Like this happened a lot, and it happened more in the big fighting scenarios than it did. And honestly, and I'm trying to think of accounts and situations when this was an issue for me, was when fixed an issue when drinking potions taps to consume 1 unit didn't count for 2 seconds. So when you go to use the potion, right, and you're like running in the other direction and you go to use it, sometimes it just won't drink it, and if it goes to drink it, it just consumes 1 unit, but it didn't count. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't register that you drank the potion. I think that's what this is referring to. Um, like, again, like I could be wrong here. I don't play too much of potions to really know
I just drink
how
them.
much this, like, well, yeah, you just drink them, but it's more of a, like, how long did it take you to get your drink off?
Yeah,
Is that
no,
like,
I-
that's
But
how
I don't
the
know.
trick
You
is
watch
at.
people like Lourdes and stuff playing, right? And they can in Slasher, they consume their potions, and I feel like it just hits. I don't know.
Because most of them are using potions on multiple keybinds. Like, there's multiple keybinds. Like, I don't know if you've ever looked on my screen when I stream, but when you look at, like, you obviously have your potion on a hotkey, right?
Right.
And you have it on like a specific number. They have it on multiple. Like, there's multiple numbers they have it on, including maybe like a shift
Right.
or something. You know, like, that's how they're getting away with that. Dodakai does that too.
Okay.
He does that too, where he has multiple hotkeys for things that are duplicates for that specific reason.
Yeah, Dodekai is actually another streamer that I'm gonna get to join the show at some point. That's
Yeah, hopefully we can get him on here. Hopefully
Yeah.
the time schedule works out for us all.
Yep, 100%. But yeah, Alvarian Sight. So this is another good quality of life here. I like this one. Alvarian Sight, Clade. That is actually sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cooldown is actually showing, man. I
Yeah,
whenever I make the call out, and whenever we're in Undercroft, I say, "Yo, Alvarian Sight." Oh, it's on cooldown, I think. How do you not
Yeah.
know, right? But
Yeah, how do you not know it's on cooldown? I don't know. And you're like, oh, well,
right. Right, exactly. So I think that's huge. It's going to be better in team fights for sure because you actually have a good idea of what the fuck your cooldown's on.
100%.
Fix issues with mining and wood cutting. Wasn't even aware of that. Sometimes you would need to redraw your weapon or move away from attempted gathering spot in order to stop your action from getting cancelled. Interesting. Interesting. Well,
Which one are you reading again?
this,
Fixed an issue.
yeah, the
Which
set
one?
right under there with mining and wood cutting. Sometimes you would need to redraw your weapon or move away from the attempted gathering spot in order to stop. Nope, I have actually experienced that.
Yeah, I know that. I've experienced that quite a
Yep,
bit.
I know exactly what that is now. No, that's actually that's another good quality of life there. I think that's just going to be something that you're going to just be looking at and say that's actually
Yeah,
nice.
it saves time, especially if you
Yep.
like myself. I run multiple accounts at a time when I play, and
Sure.
I do multi-box. It is encouraged to play multiple accounts at the same time, from what I'm heard. If you, as long as you know, like doing it in like a pro-friendly way, like because I always have a character in a safe position, like mining on one screen while I have my main on another, and I do both at the same time.
Right.
This helps a lot with that.
No,
This
100%.
this helps a lot with that.
100%.
And it also like being a miner, like I notice this every time I mine. Every single time I mine, I notice this. Like I always have to do that. Like it's in my rhythm of what I do. Like me having to reset to hit to get more items. You get what I'm saying? Like I
Right.
always have to reset my pick or my mining run. It's embedded in my brain at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to sit back and after all the quality of life things that we've gone over, I think you really just got to sit there and kind of just like appreciate it. I think a lot of the player base doesn't realize how many of these things have actually been changed. I think that people need to just be aware that, hey, a lot of these things that you probably didn't really realize were going on or didn't really take the moment to realize have been fixed. Um, yeah, it's a very good quality of life patch overall so far from what we've gone over, from what we've experienced.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I wasn't
I
even
agree.
aware of some of these patches. I'm honestly everything we're going over right now is completely on the spot. So for most of it, I like example, I was actually mining Sabra the other day, and I didn't even notice the mining fix, for example, was been fixed.
You didn't even know?
I didn't even
You didn't
know,
even see
but
it?
that's what I'm saying. Like you're just doing it, and you don't realize it's fixed because you're just going in through the motions.
Yeah.
And when the bug came across your
Yeah.
screen, you're like, well, fuck me, right? Like, okay, now I gotta
Like
move.
I always remembered that bug since like the first week of me playing this game
Right.
over a year, almost a year and a half ago.
There you go.
That's been there since then. And now they're just getting to it, which thank you for finally getting to this quality of life stuff, because in order for us to like enjoy the game more, I think for the immersion aspect, like the refining of the quality of life needs to be so on point
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't break away from the immersion. And like we were talking about before, like a lot of the bugs, glitches, and exploits in this game specifically break away from the immersion, and that's not what the game needs. The game needs like full on, full dive, like immersion. Like I need to feel like I'm in this universe. You know what I mean when I'm
Oh,
playing it.
okay.
And I
Well,
do.
that brings out
You
a great
know.
point, actually. So I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit. So right
Okay.
here, actually, the lighting and weathering environment, the changes they made. I thought this was actually really neat. So change the light intensity of placeable campfires. You may not have tested it yourself yet, but it actually really looks nice. It's not
I haven't
crazy.
tested that yet.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not crazy. I'm sorry. It's actually nice and pleasant to look at. The lighting in Undercroft, I did notice that when I checked that out. And the lighting in the general world, I feel like there was adjustments on. It didn't look as crazy bright because I don't know if we remember when UE5 dropped out, the lighting was just bright. It was like super
Yeah,
super
it was
bright.
it was it was just naturally bright.
Right, right.
And if I, from my perspective, when UE5 came out, DLSS was less bright than FSR.
Yep,
That
yep.
was my 2 cents on that.
Yep, exactly. I use DLSS, and
So do I.
yeah, and I think that's honestly like the best looking one, and it saves you the best frames.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd agree there.
this one's kind of interesting. Boss room door at Spider Queen is now less transparent.
That's
I
good.
Yeah, I actually think that's actually dope because there obviously are a lot of fights in the spider caves. And I
I'll be
guess
honest. I've seen some really shady people in spider dungeons doing some really shady things. I'll be
what,
honest.
yo, you
I
gotta talk about it now. What shady
so
things?
when I went, this was before I had met you. I went into Niter Queen before UE5, and there was 3 different people AFK hiding out of bounds inside of the Niter Queen boss, and just at the door, like right at the door, there was 2 people standing before you got into the entrance. One was an Ogmir, one was an Alvarin, and then the other one was inside the boss room all the way up. And I can tell you the guilds. It was Tia Ming, Sharks, and I think I could be wrong. It could have been Miscreants was with them, but it was like it was definitely Tia Ming and Sharks were doing it at the same time. And I was with Dire at the time. I was playing with Dire Wolves, and I was like, "What is this?" And I remember Dire and I going like, "This isn't right. Like these people are exploiting because we even did damage to them and they didn't move. They didn't even move when we did damage to them.
Hmm.
So this is good because this means that they can't see inside of the boss room when we're inside of the boss room. Because before you could see inside of the boss room, but with this change you can't.
Well, I mean, technically you still can with Elevarian Sight.
Yeah, but that's different though. But naturally, without the sight, I
Right.
can just look into the boss room and just see who's in there.
Right. No, 100%. No, I like that. That is cool. This is interesting. I didn't notice that was a missing thing. Added missing logout zone at Riser Hideout. Was
Yeah,
that? I never knew
I'm
that.
not. I didn't know about this either. Um, I'm trying to think of what is a riser hideout. I don't know.
We probably should ask Carnimata on that one.
Carney would know.
Yeah.
Would definitely know about that one.
Hey, look at this. No longer stand on wall at the invisible bridge in Necro Dungeon. If you fall, you are dead. Guess
I know
who?
what that was referring to.
Yep. Guess who can't do that no more? Tian Ming. Wow, that is actually nice. I like that.
That problem.
Fixed light issues in Cave North of Meduli. That's
I heard
nice.
about that. Yep.
Light issues in one of the Klothos cave entrances. I think
That's good.
they're talking about the Klothos cave near Talus. I think that's the one you're talking about. I know there was some lighting issues in there.
Yep.
I have to go and check myself. Fixed a gap in the Minnow dungeon.
What gap?
Yeah, what gap
Elaborate.
is that? We'll have to figure that one
I
out.
would like to know. Maybe we can talk to some people that we know up north, but I don't. Fixed a gap in the middle dungeon. That's what I want to know. What gap?
Barados, where are you?
Yeah, Parados. Answer the question. What gap was changed?
And then, let's see here. Fix some parts of the Grizzly extraction device that were rotating when they should not.
That's interesting.
So I'm guessing it's an animation issue?
Yeah, that's an animation issue with like a decoration item.
Gotcha. Oh, no, that's
But it's not a decoration item.
yeah, it's an
It
extractor.
is.
It's a crusher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the way the placement is still the same.
Mm,
Like you could place it dynamically anywhere inside your structure,
mhm.
or on the ground, but it's still the same UI in order for you to place it on the ground.
Oh, look at this one. Fix flying vegetation in some areas.
Good. I
What about
I
the
would
flying bush pigs?
No, I would like to stop seeing flying gherkin because gherkin is so hard to find in this game, and most of the time when I find it, it's up in the air and I can't get to it.
Hey, same goes for the glimmer caps. They're floating too in the jungle. Yeah, they're just you can see the big green glowy mushroom just floating above your head, and you can't grab it. That's always fun. So hopefully those are the types of vegetation they fix. But we need to get rid of those flying bush pigs and all that. That's annoying to look at sometimes. To be fair.
Yeah.
But that's just quality of life. Like I
Yeah,
said, this is all just quality of life.
100%. This is a quality of life patch.
This is huge. The next one, multiple spots where players could get stuck in the landscape. I know there's a lot of that in the north. A
A lot of
lot
that.
of that in the north. There's a lot of terrain issues. I don't know if that's some of the issue, like land terrain that he's been speaking of, but I know that there's a lot of terrain issues in the north. I haven't seen so much of terrain issues in the south or in the central steppes. I've really experienced most of my landscape issues in the north. I would say definitely near Odin Post, which is an Odin Seed stronghold near Minnow Dungeon, up in those hills above where Absolution used to live.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's a lot. Oh yeah, and then right by Ultimeki, down at the bottom by the mountain spider spawns. There's that little dip in the area there.
Yeah.
That was bad. We'll have to go back up north and take a look at that. Yeah, I did notice this one here. This was a huge one for me personally because I have a 40 series card, frame generation. So with the 40 series cards, this enabled this
Yeah.
setting here specifically on the NVIDIA, right? Obviously for 40 series. I personally haven't noticed too much of a difference in the performance.
I have.
You did?
I have, and I don't use a 40 series card, and I can already tell you that the game runs way better than it did before.
Oh yeah, I
It's
mean,
like
yeah,
20% better.
I don't freeze when I go into main cities anymore. That's one thing I did notice.
Yeah.
When UE5 came out, I would always freeze going in into the cities. I'd always freeze. It was a nightmare, and I avoided like the major cities like Fab and MK. Well, MK is not that busy anymore, but
And I'll be honest with what Henrik did say about FSR and AMD and UE5. All of that is true. Like, there is a lot of issues on the back end with UE5 that Unreal have to work on. And
Yep.
a lot of it is in relation to UE5 and DirectX 12 and all of these new like things that they're adding, and it's just it also affects other games, guys. Like, it affects Fortnite. It affects freaking Dead by Daylight. It affects these games, and I've been playing these games. I still play these games today.
trash games.
They are not compared to Mortal, but
Your mic.
like there are issues that they're out of their control, and they are trying to work on it, and we just need to be patient with them.
No, of course, no. I mean, but that's you gotta remember too. People are always gonna want the next thing. They want it. They want it now. They want it.
I mean,
Perfect.
you don't see me playing Helldive.
But Helldivers is just repetitive bullshit. Until they bring out new content for that game, I don't. Yeah, fuck that. I mean, it's a fun arcadey game, but I don't.
They freaking re-released Star Wars Battlefront Classic, and it's just been abysmal. And I called the original one, playing on a private server with mods, and just having a good time. Like,
Yep.
nothing. I don't know, man. It's people expect too much.
But hey, there's something actually interesting here I didn't read. Force engine garbage collection on main map transitions to ensure the U object count does not explode from logging out and back into the game. Large U object counts are bad and cause game hitches during garbage collection and can even crash the game if U object count gets too large. So that's basically sounds like a memory thing. So I think Henrik basically figured out something there in order to clear memory and not clear it technically, but basically make it so that it doesn't implode your freaking game, and two, make the performance just that much better. I think that is huge on the game performance. I think that's something I did actually notice personally when I was thinking about it, when I was going through those big cities as I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
Some minor adjustments, the level streaming performance. Yep, so that's map streaming. So when you're talking about looking at the different, so you don't know it, but you're looking at different nodes when you're looking around your vicinity, you know what I mean? Because each little square is a node, right? So
Yeah.
that's the level streaming process performance. I actually think that's actually pretty cool. Because I imagine that it's just less lag. It's more fluid.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a minor adjustment, so I don't know exactly how how much of an impact that is. I haven't noticed it personally, but then again, I haven't noticed much lag as I used to. But then again, we haven't been in a 200-man fight in a very long time, so then
Yeah.
we kind of have to see where that goes. So we got to try and get in on the next Zerg fight whenever that happens. Some minor animation optimizations to improve CPU performance. Okay, no, that's huge because this game definitely hits the CPU pretty hard. I think any relief to the CPU would definitely be
Yeah.
thankful to the computer because I know my computer runs hot as fuck on
Yeah, it
this
does.
game. Yeah.
My computer runs really hot. I think my hot point is like, I think we talked about this the other day. My hot point is at like 93 degrees Celsius on my GPU.
Right.
That's like just in general. That's my hot point. My CPU, I'm not entirely sure about. I don't look at my CPU as much than I do my GPU. But specifically with Portal, it gets really really hot, and it's the hottest game it gets hot on. But
Yeah.
it's natural. Like it doesn't. It's not it's not like abnormally hot for it to be a concern. It's just something I've noticed with this game, and I don't know if it's UE5 or if it's just like the new changes that have been done to the game over time. But it gets hotter. It's been getting hotter.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. But hey, remember I was talking about network coding? Look at that. Look at that. Optimize server code for auto stacking items when you pick up a new item. That's actually funny. That is actually something that came up in here. They needed to do that. They needed actually to do something to optimize that specifically. That is actually kind of crazy. And then we got fixed issue that would create small spikes of delay on certain parts. That's huge. That's huge. I don't know. People don't realize how huge that is. We're talking about like literally MS, like basically the like reaction. Small spikes of delay can be actually massive and detrimental to gameplay, especially in a PvP open world like this. That's actually huge. I know a lot of people probably have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, but that is actually a very. It may not seem huge, but it is huge. It's performance basically.
A tenth of a second matters
Oh
in
yeah,
a dynamic
100%.
game. In a persistent dynamic game, a tenth of a second does matter.
No,
I
100%.
don't. Yeah, you and I agree. Other people might not agree. I will argue that statement and debate it, but a tenth of a second does make a difference in your impulse response time.
Yeah, 100%, man. So, I mean, we can agree though overall on this whole patch. This has just been, it's really been a good quality of life. There's obviously
So
some,
good.
yeah, no,
There's even like this stuff like that we didn't mention before. They added a button to go to the help center on the main menu page.
Yep.
They also updated their Twitter logo. They updated the map borders to include Cave Camp. They improved the handling of client disconnect for character creation selection or creation. This I experienced very often playing on a GeForce account.
right.
You can no longer unequip items while dead. This is a great quality of life feature. That's something I noticed that always made me freak out a little bit. Fixed an issue where toggling horizontal mode for action bars would make the top button misalign. I never really experienced this. This is in the UI and interactions section. I never experienced that.
But hey, look at this part. I don't know if you saw this. The update the map borders that include Cave Camp.
That's huge.
Yeah, that is
That's-
actually.
That's huge.
I didn't know about this. You can no longer unequip items while dead.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, the fact that 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 alone is big. Like, it's just a nice quality of life change.
What does that? What does that mean? Tell me. What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah, how do you unequip items when you're dead?
So, it's like a glitch, right? So, like, when you die and, like, you're a ghost, and let's say you had your starter sword still equipped, or, like, a cape or something, you could unequip it. And it would be in your inventory. But, like I said, it's scary. Like, when you do stuff like that, scary things happen. Like, you could accidentally delete it. Like, that was part of the issue, where people were accidentally deleting some stuff. Like, imagine unequipping your trinket after you died.
Well,
You know what I mean?
that
Like,
sounds like a skill issue.
yeah, don't unequip your trinket when you're dead, obviously. But yeah, they fixed that. I think that was the main issue there.
So quality of
Um,
life. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, another quality of life thing. Fixed issue where you could not log back into the game after disconnected without restarting the game. This again, we all experienced this one way or another. I know everyone has in our friend group. This is true. I'm glad that they fixed this. This is a nice quality of life change. Fixed issue where some UI elements could get stuck on the screen after logging out. I never had this issue. This might be due to people that had memory leak issues. I have 32 gigs of memory at 32 megahertz, so I don't know, but that I'm not sure about that one. Fixed a visual bug where cooldowns for skills would reset if you unhover them. That's good.
The next one is the best. The next one's the
know
best.
I know that one. Fixed issue where you could interact with other things to hold R while in mercy mode.
Mm-hmm.
That's really big.
Yep. You can close the door on some poor sap.
Yep.
Yep. That's huge.
Yep. You can close the door on somebody. You can enact a trade with another person
Yep.
while in mercy mode. I remember that. Overall, like recapping everything we've talked about today,
Mm-hmm.
all of this stuff is most of this stuff's quality of life.
Yep. We can 100% agree on that. The only thing I don't think was more of a quality of life, obviously, is like the obvious, like the dungeon. It just gives more variety in the armor. I think the armor and dungeon, and those are just awesome additions to the game. The only unfortunate part, of course, was the spawning situation there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's other things that come into play when you have a new dungeon in the game that unfortunately we won't discuss today, but I promise you next Friday we will. But I think we went over this. We covered it pretty well. I think I really do appreciate you giving your side of things and views on this.
Yeah, of course.
No, it's
I like talking about Mortal. Mortal's a really cool game to talk about.
No, yeah,
it's
it's
just,
unique.
It sucks that most people don't know about it, you know.
Right.
And
no, 100%.
I feel like if there were just like a couple more thousand people that played Mortal, it would be better. It would just be, the community would be better.
Right.
You know,
Right.
the health of the community would be better if there was more people.
No, of course. And I mean, the way you do that is just popping out new content, new bug fixes, quality of life things like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly would rather play a game that works 100% than playing a game with a shit ton of content that works with 20%.
Yeah, I agree there.
Right. So I think the next thing that needs to be like talked about, which I think we'll do next week, is maybe, big fights. I don't know, like the fact that we're talking about like there's the fights that were like the 200 versus 200. People are frozen in place on both sides. It's unplayable. It frustrates people.
Yeah.
People quit the game. It's unfortunate. I think these are things that we should definitely go over. I do know that Henrik is quite aware of this. I remember seeing him in Barry Dose's stream discussing that the fact that he did see a great number of people on a specific node and it was a bit of an overload on it. We'll just have to wait and see. This game is not like what's the other shit game that's like in space? What's that one game? Forgot.
Star Citizen?
No. The other one is like an MMO, but it's space. I forgot. The spaceships and shit.
Star Citizen.
No. I'm not talking about Star. It's not an MMO. It's the other one. Eve Online.
Oh, EVE Online.
Yeah, people got to realize that EVE Online, you're talking about like a couple, like thousands of pixels less. And way more detail on Mortal Online versus a game like EVE. I saw someone say that.
I could never play EVE. I tried.
Yeah, someone told me like, oh, well, EVE Online has nodes that can support thousands of players. Like, I mean, dog, you're talking about like way less pixels, bro. If you zoom up on those things, there's not the
I don't
detail.
know. I played Freelancer. I didn't play EVE Online. So I'm a Star Citizen Chris Roberts fan. 'Cause I
Right.
played Freelancer as a kid.
Uh-huh.
Being like 10 years old on my grandma's computer, playing Freelancer with WASD with the mouse as my directional. Like
Right.
that was that's why I still play that game. But yeah, I never could get into Eve. It was just too convoluted, and I
Mhm.
think it was because when I tried getting into it, there was just too much already in place, and I just didn't have the patience to sit there and figure it all out.
Nah.
And I didn't have anyone to play with. I just tried playing it on my own,
Mhm.
and that's probably not a good idea either.
Hey, I mean, Mortal's got that on Eve. You can play this game brand new and definitely find yourself
Yeah.
a group of people to play with. I
100%.
think the community may be toxic in some ways, but the community definitely have its good parts. I think there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of people spreading, obviously, false information. But that's just
Yeah,
part of the game. That's part of the game, though. That's we got to think about it that way. It's part of the game. A lot of people will
not
bullshit.
everyone you interact with in an MMO is gonna be honest, especially when it's like a siege, like team-based MMO.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like, it is what it is.
We're playing a
But
complex Rust, my friend. Complex
Yeah.
Rust. There you
yeah,
go.
exactly.
But hey, I know we're gonna cut it here actually. So, Jordanis, I really appreciate you joining us
Yeah,
today.
of course, absolutely.
I'm gonna be uploading this
Thanks for
video
having me.
on YouTube and Spotify. No, anytime, my friend. This will be on YouTube and Spotify. Please definitely follow, like, subscribe. Thank you so much. You guys have a good rest of your night.